Hey everybody, welcome to take 2 of going over the syllabus for this welcome video. I realized that the first one didn't have sound and I just spent about an hour trying to work on the sound, and I don't know how I fixed it, but I hope I fixed it and that you can all hear me this time around. But if not, you can't hear me anyway, but send me an email and let me know. So to start, I just want to say welcome to the course, Social Deviance. It's a summer course, it's fully online, it's asynchronous, which means that we don't have any scheduled meeting times. Hopefully this is all stuff you know by now because we're already in the second week, and this is a really short 5-week semester. My name is Dr. Cassidy Tevlin. Just a little bit of background info for me. I got my undergrad degree at University of South Florida, and I got my master's and PhD both at Florida State University in criminology, and I currently live in Tampa, so this is why I'm teaching only remotely currently. I have been teaching at Texas A&M San Antonio now for, this is my 3rd semester, so my students in the past have, enlightened me about some of the things that are going on in Texas and what it's like to live in Texas, so I feel like I'm part of the community even though I'm not actually there. This welcome video is just for me to go over the syllabus, but also to let you know that if you have any questions, even though I'm not in person, you can always schedule a time to meet with me, and I'm more than happy to meet with you. I should mention a little bit of personal stuff. So I have a husband, 2 dogs, a 3-year-old daughter, and I am currently 8 months pregnant. I'll be 9 months pregnant at the end of this short semester. So I don't anticipate that being a problem in our class, especially since it's online. But if something comes up, I'll try to communicate with you guys as best as possible. So when I do communicate with you all, it's going to be through mostly Blackboard announcements, and which I'll also make sure that I send through email. So my email is listed on the syllabus right here, ctevlin@tamusa.edu. You can also do my full name. It works either way, cassidy.tevlin@tamusa.edu. It just is shorter this way. And in addition to that, I just wanted to point out that due to privacy laws, I can only communicate with you through your official university email. So if you have a personal email that you prefer, I highly suggest having your university email forwarded to your personal email so that you don't miss any messages, because that's how I'll be communicating with all of you throughout the semester. If you send me an email with your personal email, then I'm most likely not going to respond to it, so just keep that in mind when you are sending emails. The reason for this is because of, like I said, privacy laws. So FERPA requires us to only discuss personal student information with the student. And when it's a personal email, I have no idea who's behind that email. If it's a university email, then I can make a reasonable assumption that it is one of you that's actually sending me the email. So in regards to that, the only thing I can't discuss over email are specifics about your grade. And again, that's due to privacy laws because I can't confirm who is actually on the other side of the email. So in order to discuss your grade, which I'm always more than happy to do, you're going to have to set up a Zoom meeting with me. So here is all the information for virtual office hours. They're every Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. If this schedule doesn't work out for you, that's totally fine. I have a pretty flexible schedule, so you can always email me and set up an appointment to outside of these hours on Wednesday. So obviously all meetings are going to be held virtually through Zoom since I'm not there in person. And in order to access the Zoom meeting, the information is right here, the meeting ID and the passcode. This information is also in Blackboard where you can find a direct link. So like I said, anytime that you want to discuss your grade or just class material or just life, and you can't meet during those office hours, then you can go ahead and set up an appointment with me and we can work something out. So a little bit about this course. This is a new course for the criminology department at Texas A&M San Antonio. Currently, there's a similar class being taught in sociology, but this class is going to focus more specifically on the criminological side of things. So we discuss an overview of the sociological and psychological aspects of deviant behavior. We define what deviant behavior actually is, how it's different, how it overlaps with criminology and criminal justice. And so the idea is to get this comprehensive view of what deviant behavior is, how it affects our everyday life when it crosses over from just deviance to crime, and how society chooses to deal with certain social deviant acts. So this course is really interesting because it kind of takes a different approach. It takes more of a sociological approach to our criminology topics. So I hope that you find it interesting. I'm really excited to teach it for the first time, and I hope that you guys find the material interesting as well. So here are some of the learning objectives. If you follow along, then these are some of the things that you should know by the end of the semester. You'll all be experts by then. I know that we are only in the second week, and some of you might not have your book yet, but please keep in mind that this is a short semester. We're only here for 5 weeks, so it's really important that you get your book as soon as possible. This is what the book looks like. This is all the information on the book, and I personally do not care what form the book comes in for you. So you can get an ebook if you want to. You can get a rented book. You can purchase a paperback copy of a book. Whatever is best for you and the way that you like to read and the way that you like to learn is fine by me. Just because it's a digital course doesn't mean that you have to have an online book. So it's really up to you and your personal preferences. Whatever's cheapest is the option that I would go with because that is me personally. But you do need the book. The discussion posts, as you've already seen, are based on readings in the book. So you are going to need to have the book in order to be successful. So going over, what this course is all about and what it's like I've already mentioned a couple times, this is a summer course. So that means that we have a lot of information to cover in a really short amount of time. The pace of this course is quick. It's designed to be quick. We'll be covering multiple chapters a week. And I try to make the assignments available earlier in the week and give you ample time to complete them throughout the week. So what you will see in the weekly folders, I know week 1 is not like this, but it will be updated soon, and the week 2 folder will be updated also. But we will have PowerPoints for each chapter. Videos are not going to be lecture videos because there's just not enough time for me to make lecture videos this semester. But I will put supplemental videos in every once in a while, including links to YouTube or news articles for current events that are happening that kind of go along with what we're discussing for that week in those chapters. There's also going to be in the weekly folder your weekly discussion post, which we'll talk about more in a minute. And because there's no lectures, I'm also going to include reading questions. So the guided reading questions that I'm going to include for every chapter are completely optional. They're for you, and they kind of serve as a study guide for each of the chapters. So you do not have to fill them out. They're not required. They're not required to be due by a certain date. You don't have to submit them. They're really just to help you follow along with the text and what's important so that you have a better grasp on the material when you're going through it. You also can wait and fill them out while you're studying for an exam, or you can fill them out as you're reading. You can not fill them out at all. It's really up to you how you want to handle them. They're not graded, they're not going to hurt your grade, and they're not going to benefit your grade either. So what are you guys actually getting graded on? There's not too many assignments because it's a short semester. So you will have discussion boards due every week. There's a total of 6, is what this should say. Let me change that. 6 discussion boards throughout the semester. That's 5. Because you already had the 1 introduction post, and you'll have 5 other discussion posts related to the course material. So as you can see with the first discussion post that you already completed, you will have a question for each chapter, but every week you'll just have 1 large discussion post to do. They're worth a total of 10 points each. They're going to be available under the discussion board tab on Blackboard. And there's also a link included in the weekly folders to the discussion posts. They're due Sundays at 11:59 p.m. except for the last one, which we'll discuss when I go over the course schedule at the end of this, at the end of the syllabus. So specific due dates are on the course schedule below. You need to be able to read your book in order to complete these, like you've already seen for the first discussion post. So make sure that you have that. These are the main things that you're going to be graded on when you write your discussion post. So the discussion posts are just asking mostly for your opinion. These are supposed to emulate a class discussion, and since we are not in person, the discussion board is the best place to do this. So these questions ask, what's your opinion on this topic? But because we're academics, we always want to back up our opinions with facts. So we want to use facts from the textbook in order to support our opinion on the question that's being asked. So to do this, you also will need to cite from the textbook. That doesn't mean that you need to have direct quotes. It just means that you need to use information that was in there, preferably paraphrased, and then you can include a citation. Every single week on the discussion post, I will include instructions, and the instructions will have the proper citation format in there. So you can literally copy and paste it right from the instructions into your post, and that's good enough. You only have to cite once per question. So just make sure that if there's 3 chapters that week, we're going to have 3 questions. So you should have a minimum of 3 citations in that discussion post. If you neglect to cite, then you're going to lose points because that's considered plagiarism, and we don't want to plagiarize. We want to make sure that we're giving credit where credit is due. So make sure that you have the proper citation format and a minimum of 2 to 3 citations depending on how many questions there are. So 1 citation per question. The other things that you're going to get graded on is, did you answer all parts of the question? So some of them have more than 1 question or more than 1 part to the question. And I want to make sure that you guys are fully immersing yourself in the discussion. So make sure that you're answering all parts of the question and that you're explaining everything in detail. So it's not enough to just say that you agree or you don't agree or yes or no. I want to know why. And then I want to know, what facts are you basing your opinion on? So make sure that that's completed also. And then because this is not in person and we want to try to facilitate discussion in some way, you're also required to respond to at least 1 classmate's post. So I highly suggest going through before you actually write up your response, read the question, write up your response, and then look at everyone else's posts. The reason why I say this is because I've had problems in the past where students have read posts that were made prior to them responding, and then they tend to subconsciously, or maybe not subconsciously, write down very similar responses to another student. And that is considered plagiarism or cheating. It goes against the academic integrity code. And so we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we're putting our own opinions in our own words, which means that we should not have a very similar sounding post to any other student. And so if it's hard for you to put things down into your own words after you've already read other people's posts, then the way to solve that is to, write your own post before you scroll through everyone else's. But you are going to be graded partially on whether or not you responded to someone else's post. So for the 3 key things to get the full 10 points is 1, make sure that you are including the proper citation, format, and number. Make sure you're fully answering all of the questions. And finally, make sure that you are responding to another classmate's post. So as long as you do these 3 things and you get it on time, then you should get the full 10 points every week. So there will be 2 exams during this semester. You have an exam in week 3, and you have the final exam. Since we're covering a lot of material, each exam is going to consist of 100 multiple choice questions, and they're going to be 1 point each for a total of 100 points per exam. Obviously, because this is an online class, all exams will be posted on Blackboard, and you'll be required to take them on Blackboard. When they are open, so they will be open for an entire week, they will be open on Monday and close on, for the first exam it'll close on Sunday, for the second exam it'll close on Friday. Again, I'll talk more about the Friday stuff when we talk about the schedule. But you will find them in the exam folder on Blackboard. I'll also include a link in the weekly folder to take you to the exam. The dates are listed on the course schedule below that we'll go over. Once you start the exam, each exam is timed. Because you have 3 hours, or you have 100 questions, I'm giving you 3 hours to actually complete the exam. I don't think you'll need a full 3 hours to complete it, but this way it gives you ample time to thoroughly read all the questions and answer them. Once you begin the exam, you have to complete it. So you cannot start the exam, save it, go do something else, and then come back to it later. You have to have everything done in one sitting, so keep that in mind when you are planning out your schedule for the week that there's an exam. Of course, I don't wait till the last minute to begin the exam, because if you do experience a technical issue while you're taking the exam, I'm not going to be able to really respond right away. Typically, technical issues I can solve pretty quickly, but if you have another issue that pops up, it's harder to address if you wait till the last minute to do it. So make sure that you keep that in mind when you're scheduling your weekly schedules, and make sure that you contact me right away if you experience any problems. If you get locked out of the exam, you have another technical issue, something happens during your exam, let me know ASAP, and we'll work on things on a case-to-case basis. So exams are going to be a mixture of definition and application questions. And so most students are used to definition questions where you just kind of regurgitate information that you've already memorized or learned for the exam. But the application questions, students are typically not as familiar with, and these are really to encourage critical thinking. So an application question will present you with a scenario and then ask you to identify the best theory or concept that goes with the scenario. So you are able to use your books and notes, your reading questions, while you take the exam. It's open book, open note, but you still need to study in advance. And these application questions, the answer is not going to be found very easily in the book, or at all in the book. So this is why you need to have a mastery of the material before you actually get started on the exam, because you're not going to be able to look up every single answer. Some of them just aren't going to be there, and other ones, if you try to do it for every single one, you're definitely going to run out of time. So make sure that you study before you take the exam. If you do poorly on the exam, there's no makeups, there's no redos, so just make sure that you're prepared before you actually take it. Makeup exams are not going to be given unless under the most extreme circumstances. You have an entire week to complete the exam. So saying things like I didn't know is not an excuse. Saying things like I had to work is not an excuse. The only way that you can really make up an exam, one of these extreme circumstances, is if you have documentation for a university excused absence, and it has to be sent to me sometime during exam week. And so this means you had a significant health issue that, surprisingly came up. Maybe you have kids and one of your kids had a significant health issue. Maybe you had a death in the family. So these are really the only things that will excuse you from taking an exam when it's due. And then we will handle these on a case-by-case basis based on when you let me know. My biggest thing is that I cannot help you if you don't let me know that you need help. And so if you wait until the last minute, the last second of the semester, I'm not going to be able to help you the way you want me to help you. So if you start falling behind, if you start struggling, if something comes up, please let me know as soon as possible. And like I've been saying, we'll work it out on a case-by-case basis, based on your documentation and your personal situation. So when it comes to attendance, this is an online class. This is designed to work around your schedule. I know that Tamusa students are not your typical college student. You have a lot of stuff going on. You work full time, you have kids, you have elderly family that you're taking care of. You have a lot on your plate, and I totally understand that, but you are in the class and you are going to have to make sure that you keep up with the coursework. So make sure that you're logging in every week, that you're looking at what's due, following along with the course schedule, and keeping in mind that it's a short semester. So, we're already a fifth of the way through this semester, and it's going to go super fast. When it says, for purposes of financial aid, you have to make sure that you, participated in the first week. That serves as the first week attendance, and you guys have already done all that. So the fact that you're still here and listening to this video means that you don't have to worry about that stuff. So of course we want to know how are we going to be graded. Discussion boards are worth 10 points apiece. There's 6 of them, so they're worth 60 points. Exams, there's 2 worth 100 points apiece, so that's 200 points for a total of 260 points. If you want to figure out your grade at any time, all you need to do is add up the amount of points that you have earned and divide it by the total amount of points available. So, if you're halfway through the semester, you're not going to have that last exam in there. You're only going to have, let's say, 3 or 4 discussion posts. So you would only add up, what you've already completed, the points that you've earned divided by the total, and that'll give you your current standing in the class. And then at the end of the semester, you can add up all the points that you've got and divide it by the total, 260 points, and that will be give you your percentage. And then your percentages are over here, and the grades associated with those percentages are right here. So that's really it for the majority of hours. Oh, I just wanted to point out too that when you are, actually we'll get to that in a second because we're going to go through some of these policies and resources, but these are the same that are included on all of your syllabi. So you should be familiar with them at this point, but just in case you're not, we'll go through some of the main points really quickly. The first one is talking about academic accommodations for persons with disabilities. So at this point, I should have received a letter from Courtney Garza if you need accommodations for the class. If you need them, accommodations, and you've gotten them from the university, make sure that you check in with me to see that I have received a letter from her. Otherwise, if I don't get that letter, then I'm not going to be able to set up any special accommodations for you if you need extra time on the exams or anything like that. Because it's a online class, we have less necessary accommodations, but they're still important, so make sure you get that into me before the first exam, or else they can't help you with that. The Academic Learning Center information is just there to let you know that their university has resources for you if you're struggling. We don't have any papers due this semester, but just so you guys know, there's a writing center. The Academic Learning Center can help with, time management, scheduling things. So they're a useful resource for students, and here are the ways to contact them if necessary. The university also offers counseling services for free, and here's all the information needed in order to contact them to set that up. And I always like to encourage all my students to seek out counseling resources at some point during college. You don't even have to be really struggling with anything. You can be stressed. You can not like how you're performing in a class. It could be something more serious. Maybe you lost a family member. Whatever it is, counseling services are there for you. And this is probably the only time in your life that they will be offered to you for free. So I always suggest taking advantage of that at least once during your time here in school. Emergency preparedness is just talking about the JAGI alert system. You all should be signed up for and getting text messages if there's ever an emergency that needs to, that you need to be aware of. We already did the financial aid and verification of attendance, so that shouldn't be a problem for any of you at this point, hopefully. The Writing Center, like I said, it is not necessarily applicable to this class, but if you need help writing in the future, they're available to help you. Meeting basic needs is something that Tamusa really kind of prides themselves on. If you're struggling, we know that, outside struggles, personal struggles will affect your educational attainment. So make sure that if you are experiencing any needs, that you use the services that are available to you. And meeting basic needs is one of them. So if you need more information, you can contact the Dean of Students, or you can let me know and I can forward any information to you that might help you out in your specific situation. So for those of you in the military, obviously we are a veteran and military-friendly university, but you are still enrolled in classes. So, if something comes up, active military duty, reserves, something where you are not going to be around, please communicate it to me as soon as possible, and we can figure out what we can do for you to help. If you have any specific questions about military and academic life meshing, then the person that you're encouraged to contact is going to be the Office of Military Affairs. You can contact them by email or by phone. Religious observances don't typically affect our class because of the online format, but if for some reason they do, please let me know in advance. So respect for diversity is something that I wanted to just briefly touch upon. Like I said, you are required to respond to your classmates' posts for the discussion board. And so I like to just try to stress that, be an adult when you are replying to students, replying to classmates, respect the fact that everyone is going to have a different opinion. These are opinion questions. Opinions are allowed to differ. Everyone's allowed to voice their opinion. So when you're commenting on someone else's, just keep that in mind and make sure that you're being respectful. Just follow the golden rule of don't say anything to somebody else that you wouldn't want said to you. We want to be able to share our unique experiences, values, and beliefs without feeling like we're going to be attacked for them. So just make sure that you're not treating the discussion boards like an angry person on social media, and that you are, using these in the proper format in order to communicate your thoughts. You guys can read through those policies. It's also good to know what your rights and responsibilities are in case any issues come up, so I would encourage you to read through those. And that's really all the university policy. Then we come to the course schedule. So just off the bat, I want to say that the course schedule is subject to change if anything pops up, but since it's a short semester, I'm going to try really hard not to let anything like that happen. And I encourage you to print this out, follow along with this, as it's going to help you go week by week through what's due. So how it's set up is it tells you what week of the semester we're in, what the topics are that are going to be covered, the dates of that week, and then we go into the assigned readings. Typically there's going to be 3 readings. I think one week there might be only 2, but typically it'll be 3. You'll have your assignments listed, which are mostly going to be discussion posts, and they'll tell you when they're specifically due. So the date and the time. They're always due by the end of the day on whatever date that they are due on. So we are in week 2. We're going to be covering 3 chapters this week. Your discussion post 2 is going to be due on Sunday. So I want to bring up this first exam. So the first exam is going to cover chapters 1 through 6. So you are going to be taking the exam week 3 after we've covered everything last week and this week. And so I personally would recommend taking the exam before you start on the new chapters for this week, as you might get confused with the information because chapters 7, 8, and 9 are going to be pushed to the final exam. And so I want to make sure that whatever material you have fresh in your mind is what the exam is going to be on. And then you can, start the coursework for that week after you've already taken the exam. Of course, that's just my recommendation. It's not required. You can take it anytime during the week. It opens on Monday and is due by Sunday at 11:59 p.m. So just make sure that it gets done that week, however it is you want to do it. But I told you what my recommendation would be. So after you do the exam, or maybe before, you still have readings and a discussion post due that week as well. So just keep that in mind. During the exam week, you have, a full week of coursework to do on top of the exam also. Like I said, it's summer semester, so sometimes we've got to cram things in. Week 4 is a typical week with the readings and the discussion post. Week 5 is unique because week 5 is the last week of classes. So because it's a summer, it's not only the last week of classes, but it's also finals week all at the same time. So this is a shortened week. Technically Monday is a holiday. So the university is closed on Monday for July 4th holiday. You'll still have things posted in Blackboard. You can choose to do them that day or not. That's completely up to you. You can just enjoy the holiday also, however you want to do your personal life, but that's going to, be available regardless of the holiday. You have 2 chapters due this week, so the final 2 chapters, and the final exam is also this week. So before I talk about the final exam, you also have an assignment of your discussion post due this week. So your last discussion post is going to be due Friday at 11:59 p.m. I debated on whether or not we should have a discussion post this week, but I think that the extra points available for something like that will benefit everybody, so I decided to go ahead and leave it in there. So during this week, you have the 2 chapters to read. You have your final discussion post that's due, and then you also have your final exam. So the final exam is going to be on chapters 7 through 14. So just keep that in mind when you're studying. And because it's a short week, everything is due Friday at 11:59 p.m. instead of Sunday. This is because this is the last day of the semester. So my grades for you guys have to be entered in on that Sunday. So make sure that you are completing everything by that Friday. After that Friday, I can't let you make anything up. I can't let you, that's really it. I can't let you make anything up after that Friday. So just make sure that you are paying attention to that date and that you don't wait till the last minute to take in the exam or do your discussion post, because if something happens, we're out of time at that point. So if something happens during that week, please let me know, and we'll figure it out, like I said before, on a case-to-case basis. I just want you guys to know that I'm here to help you. So I would love to see all my students succeed. I'm not out to get anybody. And so any way I can help, please let me know, and let me know with enough time that I can actually help you. And I think that's it. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to email me. Hopefully you can hear me this time. And I hope that we all have a great semester together. Thank you.